Hello and welcome to Washington Talk. I'm Eun-jung Cho. The United States and South Korea are working closely to deal with North Korea, which vowed an exponential increase in its nuclear arsenal and a development of a new ICBM. Today, we have Washington and Seoul's top envoys for North Korea to hear their plans and strategies firsthand.
The United States stands firm in its extended deterrence commitment, and that includes the full range of U.S. defense capabilities, including our conventional, nuclear, and missile defense capabilities.
Trilateral diplomatic coordination has been complemented by enhanced security cooperation, including naval and ballistic missile defense drills and air exercises.
We will strengthen our deterrence against North Korea's nuclear and missile threat.
In the studio with me, Ambassador Sung Kim, U.S. Special Representative for the DPRK, serving concurrently as the U.S. Ambassador to Indonesia. Ambassador Kim served as the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Korea and the Philippines and as Acting Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs. Also joining us, Ambassador Kim Gunn, the Republic of Korea Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs. Ambassador Kim served as South Korea's ambassador to the United Kingdom and the Deputy Foreign Minister. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Ambassador Sung Kim, North Korea's provocations has reached record levels and it has expanded and sophisticated its nuclear arsenal. North Korea also warns of using nuclear weapons preemptively. Now, do you agree with calls that the United States now has to change its approach to North Korea? And what has been the tangible results from the Biden administration's practical and calibrated approach?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm delighted to be here with my good friend and colleague, Ambassador Kim Gunn. The Biden administration has been very clear and consistent on its basic approach to the DPRK. That is, we aim to seek the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. We remain committed to diplomacy and want a meaningful dialogue with the DPRK without preconditions. We have also made clear that we're willing to engage in humanitarian cooperation, including providing COVID-related assistance. Now, those basic commitments and approaches will not change. But at the same time, we are, of course, taking actions in response to changing circumstances and North Korea's provocative behavior. We maintain the closest possible coordination with the ROC and Japan and other partners in the region. That effort will continue, including on the military front. And we also continue to work on making sure that sanctions enforcement is done as comprehensively as possible.
But since North Korea's provocations has reached record levels, don't we need to change any of the approach from the U.S. side?
I don't think there's a need to change our basic approach. I think we agree that we should remain committed to the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And that goal is shared by not just Korea and the US, but with Japan and other partners in the region, including China. But of course, we will make the necessary adjustments to make sure that our defense and deterrence remain as strong as it needs to be in the face of North Korea's escalatory and destabilizing behavior in violation of multiple Security Council resolutions.
Ambassador Sung Kim, this was also brought up in the recent State Department press briefing that you concurrently serving as the special representative for DPRK and also U.S. ambassador to Indonesia. Does that mean currently diplomacy with North Korea does not require a special representative singularly focused on this issue?
I wouldn't look at it that way. I actually think my presence in the region is helpful because I'm able to coordinate and communicate much more closely with Ambassador Kim in Seoul, but also our good friend, Director General Funakoshi in Japan. The lack of distance and lack of time difference makes it easier to communicate. In fact, I would say I'm almost daily contact with my colleagues from Seoul and Tokyo, which is possible because I'm actually in the region. It also helps us build stronger support from Southeast Asian partners and other countries in the region. And of course, I'm in very close touch with my colleagues and bosses in Washington, almost daily contact as well. So I don't think my dual responsibility has been a problem to deal with the North Korea portfolio. If anything, I think it's been quite helpful for me to be out in the region.
Ambassador,
I just
sure.
want to add that Ambassador Sung Kim is the top expert on North Korea with extensive experience. And for the last 9 months, we have coordinated very closely, almost daily. And I'm proud that we served our countries very well for that time.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, when is the last time South Korea contacted with North Korea, and North Korea has rejected South Korea's audacious initiative? What are your plans to bring North Korea back to the negotiating table? Tensions are running high on the Korean Peninsula.
I think it's obvious that North Korea does not heed our call for dialogue. So we established our approach, which is called 3D. It is the deterrence and dissuasion and dialogue. So we'll make environment for North Korea to come back to the denuclearization talks. And in order to do that, we must deter the North Korean nuclear threat. And at the same time, we must dissuade North Korea from developing their nuclear weapons further.
Ambassador Sung Kim, when was the last time you contacted with the North Koreans? Was it through the New York channel, and what was the message?
Well, I can assure you that we have sent multiple messages to Pyongyang through various channels, including the New York channel. And the message has been quite clear. We have reminded them repeatedly of our willingness to engage in meaningful dialogue. In fact, our willingness to address their concerns with the aim of making progress towards the complete denuclearization. Unfortunately, North Koreans have shown no interest in diplomatic engagement with us, but we will continue to remind them that our position has not changed, that we are, in fact, willing to engage in dialogue with them without preconditions.
So when was the last time?
Well, I don't want to get into too much detail about private diplomatic communication, but I can assure you that multiple messages have been passed through a variety of channels, including quite recently.
You just mentioned about how it's a benefit for you to be in Asia, that you can coordinate with ROK and Japan more frequently. You being in Asia, is it an advantage for you to meet with North Korea at the last minute?
Oh, yes, I think we made clear to them we're willing to meet with them anywhere, anytime. So, yes, if they should choose to want to meet in Asia, it's going to be easier for me to get there, yes.
In June 2022, last year, you said the U.S. assesses that the DPRK is preparing its 7th nuclear test. Does the U.S. currently hold the same assessment, or has there been more progress in North Korea's preparations?
Our experts assess that the preparations have been done, but it's not clear whether the North Korean leadership has made a decision regarding the timing of the test. Obviously, it would be a very troubling development, a serious escalation, and we hope that they will refrain from conducting a 7th nuclear test. Even as we hope that they will refrain, we're working very closely with the ROC and Japan to make sure that we are prepared to deal with the contingency. And that includes, of course, taking the issue to the UN Security Council, because a nuclear test would be a serious violation of multiple Security Council resolutions.
Ambassador Kim Gunn, South Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Cho Hyun-dong said that there will be an unparalleled scale of response if North Korea pushes ahead with its 7th nuclear test. Can you elaborate on this? And would that include the synchronized US, South Korea, Japan cyber sanctions on North Korea? Would that be a big part?
Yes, we are preparing if there is a 7th nuclear test, that the international community must respond to it with resolve. So we are all planned up, and cyber is a part of it. And we are strengthening to respond to the North Korean cyber threat as far as we can.
So how is that unparalleled from before?
Unparalleled means many things, but it will be a very comprehensive package of the international community to respond to the violation of the UN, serious violation of the UN Security Council resolutions.
Comprehensive meaning diplomacy, deterrence?
Yes, it will not only include diplomacy, but also in many other parts, like strengthening our defense posture and deterrence measures. And so it's kind of comprehensive package that we are preparing for.
Now, Ambassador Sung Kim, Undersecretary for Arms Control and International Security Bonnie Jenkins said that arms control is always an option for talks with North Korea. Does her comment reflect the changing thinking within the U.S. government about the arms control and risk reduction, or is this an isolated view?
Not at all does it reflect a change in the U.S. government's position. Our position remains that we seek the complete denuclearization of the DPRK. I believe she was speaking at a think tank event, and so I don't want to try to interpret what she may have said at a think tank event, but our basic position has not changed.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, how does Seoul feel about these calls from Washington of pursuing that denuclearization's first stage is an interim stage of a nuclear freeze? Do you feel any nervousness about this, that this could end up just being a nuclear freeze and not full denuclearization?
Our goal remains the complete denuclearization of North Korea, and it never changes. But at the same time, in our audacious initiative, we made it very clear that our response measures includes military. So, and conventional arms control is part of it. It's we are thinking about an agreement and in a comprehensive agreement, but when it comes to implementation, it must be phased. So during that course, we are thinking a lot about the confidence building measures in military affairs too. But people are confused when they are heard of arms control, all those things, because it does not mean that we give up our goal of complete denuclearization of North Korea.
Ambassador Kim Gunn, President Yoon Suk-yeol's comment recently on nuclear armament as a policy option has stirred active debate here in Washington. And experts tell me that the issue of South Korea's nuclear armament is no longer a taboo. Are you encouraged by the seeming openness from Washington about South Korea possibly getting a nuclear weapon?
In his recent interview, my president made it very clear that we have confidence in U.S. extended deterrence. And now we are having a very close coordination how to strengthen the effectiveness of our new extended deterrence, and I think it's the direction that we are heading for.
So Secretary Lloyd Austin visited South Korea recently and reaffirmed U.S.'s extended deterrence commitment. Do you think that will address South Korean public's nervousness about U.S. extended deterrence?
I don't think we have doubts, but now the task is to strengthen the effectiveness of the extended deterrence, and we are kind of talking about strengthening our information sharing, our strengthening our consultation process, and at the same time joint planning and joint execution. So if we go through all these efforts, then I think it will be a very, very good signal to our people that we have strong deterrence against North Korean nuclear threat.
Then what do you make of the seeming rise in the public opinion in the opinion polls recently that they want nuclear weapons, the South Korean public?
I think it signals that because North Koreans threatened preemptive nuclear strike, so it signals that the people of Korea are very, very sensitive and consider it very serious, the North Korean nuclear threat. So that's why our alliance is involved in strengthening the effectiveness of the extended deterrence.
Ambassador Sung Kim, President Yoon Suk-yeol's mention of a nuclear armament as a policy option, how does that impact U.S. efforts to denuclearize North Korea and the possible South Korean armament? Would that work as a leverage on China and North Korea behind the scenes, or would that be a baggage and burden for the United States, which seeks non-proliferation on the Korean Peninsula and beyond?
Well, as Ambassador Kim just suggested, President Yoon has made clear that the ROC is not interested in pursuing a WMD program. but is instead working very closely with us at all levels to make sure that our defense and deterrence are as strong as it needs to be. And that includes engaging in a very serious dialogue about how do we actually strengthen the extended deterrence, including things like looking at frequency and intensity of U.S. strategic deployments on the peninsula. So it's a very important effort. In fact, Presidents Biden and Yoon together tasked their teams after their meeting in Cambodia to intensify our efforts in this regard. So I'm quite confident that together we will be able to maintain the necessary extended deterrence capability.
From the U.S. government and the expert community, the U.S. side is very clear that they do not support South Korea's nuclear armament. That could be a good example for China's takeaway in addressing the North Korean nuclear issue, that China should be the one stopping North Korea from its nuclear armament.
Well, I mean, we very much believe that China has an important responsibility to help us deal with the North Korea challenge. They have great leverage. They have extensive relations with the PRK. They're a permanent member of the UN Security Council. So we hope to work with Beijing to come up with a way to deal more effectively with the North Korean challenge. Unfortunately, so far we have not enjoyed good cooperation from Beijing. But I believe President Biden made very clear to President Xi Jinping when they met in Bali recently that it's important for us to work together, and that if China is unable to work with us on this issue, that there will be consequences that China may not like.
Ambassador Kim Gunn, in a recent policy briefing of the South Korean Unification Ministry, President Yoon Suk-yeol mentioned unification centered around South Korea's system. Should there be any questions about unification led by South Korea, which is a prosperous and democratic out of the two Koreas? And do you agree with the growing sentiment in Washington that unification may be the ultimate answer to North Korea's nuclear and human rights issues?
In our constitution, we kind of stated a policy that we pursue peaceful unification based on democracy and freedom. And that's basically our policy. Unification is the final goal we are pursuing by our constitution. But at the same time, we must deal with the current issues we are facing, which is the North Korean nuclear threat. And when it comes to North Korean nuclear development, it's been 30 years already, and the end result is very clear that now North Korea is economically bankrupt, and they are totally diplomatically isolated, and they are more insecure. So I think it's in North Korea's interest to give up their nuclear weapons, and our job is to persuade North Korea to accept the evident truth that the nuclear weapons does not fit the interest of the North Koreans.
Ambassador Sung Kim, do you think denuclearization of North Korea is possible without the change in its leadership?
We believe so, and that's why our aim remains the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. As Ambassador Kim just mentioned, we support goals and aspirations related to achieving a peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. And we also have continued to support meaningful inter-Korean exchanges and cooperation, because I believe that such activities can help maintain stability on the peninsula.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, in South Korea's latest Indo-Pacific strategy, South Korea called China a partner for keeping peace and prosperity. Did South Korea consult with the United States about this phrase before releasing the document? And does the Yoon Suk-yeol government want to align with the United States in the Indo-Pacific strategy? If so, why not clearly point out China's assertiveness in its Indo-Pacific strategy, just like US and Japan?
Our Indo-Pacific strategy is our determination to expand our diplomatic horizon. And in doing so, we need China as partner. For instance, my portfolio, North Korean nuclear issue, China must be our partner to persuade North Korea to give up their nuclear weapons. So we try to not only ROK but U.S. also. We try to persuade China to play more constructive role especially persuading North Korea to come back to the denuclearization talks.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, does the Yoon administration still view China as a strategic partner like in the Moon administration? The Moon administration said that it can choose its partner, and the State Department in response said that South Korea has already made the decision of being a U.S. ally long before.
Yes, the United States is our only ally, and the policy we pursue, the Indo-Pacific strategy, is based on the premise that we promote the values which we seek. So I think it's very obvious. But at the same time, China is an important partner, and there are areas of cooperation, and that is very necessary. For instance, my portfolio, when it comes to North Korean issues, China must play a constructive role, and it has its responsibility and its capability. So we ask China to play a more constructive role in this. So naturally, I think that China is an important partner for us.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, Kim Yo-jong said that North Korea will always stand in the same trench with Russia. Does closer alignment among North Korea, China, and Russia on Ukraine issues and others, does that complicate the solution to North Korean nuclear issue?
North Korea always tries that. But when it comes to the North Korean nuclear issue, it's non-proliferation issue, where the interest of China and Russia coincide with ROK, US, and Japan. And North Korean nuclear threat does not help anyone. So I think we must be aligned to persuade North Korea to come back to the denuclearization track as early as possible.
Now, Ambassador Sung Kim, Russia and China are blocking additional actions from the UN Security Council. When you meet with their top envoys on North Korea, do you sense they are also concerned about North Korea's nuclear and missile development? And are they on the same page as the United States when it comes to that North Korean nuclear development is unacceptable, or has that red line been blurred by now?
Well, in my meetings, they have repeatedly assured me that both Beijing and Moscow share our goal of achieving the complete denuclearization. That has not changed at all. And they also agree that we should be looking for an opportunity to engage in meaningful diplomacy towards the aim of making progress towards complete denuclearization. And I believe them, but I also wonder about their commitment to doing what's necessary to help us achieve that goal. For example, sanctions enforcement. I think they have a responsibility to they faithfully implement UN Security Council resolutions. And we have seen a lot of information suggesting that both Russia and China are helping the DPRK evade sanctions. That's a problem. And it would make it more difficult for us to actually make progress towards denuclearization. So we hope that they will change their approach and work more closely with us towards our shared goal.
Now, Ambassador Kim Gunn, North Korea human rights was a sideline for a long time, considered to be a distraction to nuclear negotiations. Does the Yoon Suk-yeol government have the desire to raise both nuclear issue and human rights issue at the same time?
When it comes to human rights, it's the universal value of humankind. And when it comes to North Korean people are not anybody to us. They are our brothers and sisters. So their human rights is very, very important to us. So my government appointed North Korean human rights ambassador in 5 years, and we kind of participated as co-sponsor of a resolution at the UN General Assembly in 4 years, and I think we must continue these efforts regardless of any other issues.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Ambassador Kim Gunn, Ambassador Sung Kim, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back here next week with U.S. experts to discuss the two Koreas and the region right here from Washington.